everything going about it. And there's a funny thing that happened. We went to a restaurant before. I don't know if you've been to one of these restaurants, and the way you have your steak, I'm tipping you're going to say no. But went to a restaurant the Friday afternoon, and before we even sat down, John, they said, "Can we have your phones, please?" They put our phones away into this little bag and said, "You'll get them back at the end of your meal." And I just said, "What's this all about?" They said, "Well, we don't want you sort of continually scrolling on your phone, so we get all the phones of everyone, and we want you to concentrate on how nice the food is, and you can talk to your mate here."
Well, what do you think about that?
Talk to your family.
I've spoken to a few people in Sydney because there's a few restaurants like that over there. Some people really like it because they don't have that the phone ringing in their pocket. They're away from work. Then there's other people that said, too bad if there's an emergency in the family or something and you got your phone locked up. So I suppose it takes away from those people that like to take photos of their food. And
I saw a mum and dad out to dinner only a couple of weeks ago. I'll make it quick, with teenage kids. A girl, I reckon, about 14, a boy about 15 or 16. And all four of them had devices in their hands. It was a Chinese restaurant, and none of them spoke to each other for the entire time they were there. I just thought, why did you bother going out?
It's a poor trend.
Why
for
did
human
you
beings.
bother going out?
It's a poor trend.
So that's the positive, right? Yeah. Anyway, the food was excellent.
Yep.
There was a cocktail called the Greyhound. I had to get that, Jay. So that kick-started my Friday. Yeah, it was pretty good, actually. It's not too bad. Off we went.
Kick-started as in going from first gear to second gear, or fifth to sixth at that time of the day?
Beer. You know me. I go nice and slow, mate. I'm hearing the tortoise these days.
So are you purposely avoiding what happens Friday night for me?
Oh, mate, I'm not one of those people that rub it in, and it's bloody not even round one. So you know, I'm not going to be one of those people. But I was proud of my team. We played pretty well. I think there's two types of games at the SCG. There's ones where Sydney dominate early, and then you end up winning by 8 to 10 goals, which happened 85% of the time last year. And then there's those little slugfests where you're a chance to get over the top of you, and we were lucky enough to do that. So you'll bounce back this week, mate.
Can I just say something very quickly? I might have made that sound. I said it was a Chinese restaurant, and it was a Chinese restaurant, but I'm not saying. In fact, the people that were guilty of this were not Chinese people. They looked like me.
So, we didn't think that.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
For anyone who was listening who might have misconstrued that.
My kids do the same with iPads at a restaurant. It's almost like they're not there. So
they just didn't talk to each other the entire time. So,
apparently, there's about 4 or 5 restaurants that are owned by the same people that will not let you have your phone while you're eating.
I don't mind it. I quite like it. More joints should do it. I should do it at my joint. You come to my joint, you leave your phone at the front door, unless you're punting.
Right.
And friend of the show and friend of a lot of people who will be listening, Georgie, and Cam Hallinan. I know you met up with him at some point. Now, he's not the most gracious of Swan supporters. He's a rare breed. How did he go over the weekend?
Yeah, when you guys made a run in that third quarter,
he was up.
He was in my face, absolutely. And he was a couple of Hahn Super Dries in.
A couple?
Which was fantastic.
A couple hundred?
No, we were pretty well behaved, mate. That was a good night.
Text message has come in from Ash. Any update on how bad the injury is to Unreal Speed, and also where Lanfranco is at? So I know Lanfranco's planning to compete in the Association Cup, which is a big Group 1 staying event that runs alongside of the Golden Easter egg. So he'll head up there soon to trial and have a hit out up there. Do you have any insight to Unreal Speed, George?
I don't think he'll be ready for the Association Cup from what I could gather from the injury. Again, we're spitballing here. We haven't had an opportunity to talk to Rob Britton, but I'd suggest that the Sandown Cup is clearly going to be his number one target. If you can get a couple of runs before that, which I'm sure he can before that kicks off in May, I'm guessing that's where he'd go. So good news about Lanfranco. Association Cup, only a couple of weeks away now, Jace, getting closer to the Golden Easter egg. So, we'll see those 2 stars back in action pretty soon.
If you do want to get involved at any stage of the show, make sure you do by texting in 0416 90 50 52. And before we really get stuck into the happenings in greyhound racing, Georgie, what's your thoughts on the opening round? There's been a lot of heat about it. You briefly mentioned it before. Is it a good thing?
No, I don't like it at all. I want to get straight into 9 games of footy and just, you don't leave the couch pretty much for 48 hours, mate. I'm not sure what you thought about it. I know there was some circumstances which prevented us from having 4 games, but it looks like it's going to stay, right?
Last year it aligns with the Vegas round in the NRL, where I think this year it was obviously a week later. So
the
purpose of why they're doing it is slightly blurred. given that. But speaking of the NRL, I mean, you weren't a part of the show in its totality last Friday. You did come on and join us with your dulcet tones when you were up in Sydney. The obscure outlay, the Rabbitohs into the Sea Eagles, tick, tick. We're back on the board.
So it feels like that you're my rabbit's foot when it comes to this.
Yes, Corey Smith should never be allowed back in the studio.
Yeah. So you're the one, mate. We'll stick to. There was another text that have come through. G'day, boys. How good was King Kaboom winning at the age of 6 after 145 starts? He's had 145 starts for 27 wins, 22 seconds and 13 thirds. He won at Healesville in 1688. It's great to see them at that age still kicking along.
Unbelievable. All right, they're at the boxes for the third race at Sale. James Vandermart is the man up there. I've got a brief story about James. Well, it at least relates to James. It happened to me leaving here RSN last week. But we'll get to that before the fourth. But in the meantime, here's race 3 and here's Jim.
Yeah, hand timing throughout the meeting today. So it'll take a few minutes after each race, but if you jump on fasttrack.grv.org.au and click on the sale races, they will be uploaded as the day progresses. Moving in race 3. They move in quickly. The green light turned on. Reserve 9 from box 8. They're set race number 3. Ready now. Often racing. Pretty even line away. Ultimate Lexi popped out fast to lead. Silver Coin rushes down the outside, and Silver Coin's going to take the lead away from Ultimate Lexi. 3 lengths to Dr. Gabriella running on, and then 5 Vienna Sunset as they string out. A minute back Omega Penny with Touch My Hand, and at the end of the field Candles with Jumbuck Punky as they turn. Rather, it's Jumbuck Punky the clear leader. It was the reserve who got away, but coming hard Ultimate Lexi. It's Jumbuck Punky in front. That'll do enough. Jumbuck Punky in the glaring sunlight, won it by 3/4 of a length, Ultimate Lexi. Third, Dr. Gabriella, and they were a minute clear. Well back at the end, Omega Penny with Vienna Sunset. Now, I thought that was Silver Coin who dashed to the lead early, but it was Jumbuck Punky, the eventual winner. And back at the tail of the field was Candles with Touch My Hand, and the time we'll have in just a jiffy, but it was the reserve who sailed across to lead. It's nice and glary out there, and I could have sworn black and blue. That was the green rug in front, but it was the 9 who sailed down the outside to take the lead. And it's come away to win for Ben Josky. Ben Josky, the winning trainer, number 9 first, has raced home a big winner, Aston Rupee. Punk Lass Rocks, too quick for them here. Apologies for getting the 6 and the 9 confused early. I thought it was Silver Coin who dashed to the lead, but it was the little Jumbuck Punky, and the 9 rug has been able to scoot home and win it. Second goes to 4 Ultimate Lexi. Ran an honest race, stuck on pretty well. Brad Sands, Frank Andrietto, Aston Rupee and Albie's Cruiser. And the 5 was third, Dr. Gabriella for Judith McMahon, the Doctor's Kennels, Bernardo and Suffragette. So the numbers here confirmed. It'll be 9 the winner. Showed a really good turn of pace coming off that back straight to whip around and take the lead, and has been too quick for Ultimate Lexi. Dr. Gabriella up for third placing ahead of number 2, who's whacked away from the back, the favourite Omega Penny. Just awaiting the all clear to come on race number 3. Those numbers 9, 4, 5 and 2 should be about $12.20 and $3.80, $2 and $2.10. 9452 with the all clear to come race number 3.
Okay, guys, there's still no divs through in full there, but you got the first 4 from James, and Jumbuck Punky, that first reserve, jumped out of box 8.
Lovely text message has come in from Matt in Dandenong. Hi, guys. Just sending our condolences to our mate Jared Sharp for the loss of his father. All the best, mate. Couldn't agree more. Thoughts with the whole Sharp family, and he's certainly a strong contributor to the show. So fingers crossed he's in good spirits soon, and thoughts are with the family, of course.
Jumbuck Punky, number 9, $12.20 and $3.80. 4 Ultimate Lexi, $2. 5 Dr. Gabriella, $2.10 and 2 Omega Penny. The Quinella, $53. Exacta, $86. Trifecta, $196. And the first 4 boys, $2,367. 9, 4, 5, 2. Running double 4 and 9, $17. James Vandermart, race 4, went 1, 4, 7 and 2.
Let's rewind back to last Friday night, Georgie, the running of the Horsham Cup. Won by Flying Zulu, and it was a busy finish because there was threats all around. I mean, Zipping Hopkins was looming. Amrong Tiger was looming. Extradited led for a long way, but in the end, class just prevailed, didn't it?
Yeah, look, and we mentioned this, didn't we, Jace, that after those scratchings, it looked like he emerged as the class runner of the field. I mean, we don't have to go too far back, do we, to remember that he almost snatched the Temlee. His form prior to that, Jason, nearly breaking the track record at Sandown. And I mean, he's an extremely fast greyhound, and I thought he was going to be able to offset the box draw, and that's the way it turned out. But again, Zipping Hopkins, hard in your mouth stuff, isn't it? I mean, he just gives them a start. And I was actually watching, obviously, with Camo, who owns the Greyhound, and then that last 50 metres, I think he was just thought, am I a chance here? Like his last little bit's extraordinary, but Flying Zulu, I think that's a deserved win, isn't it? I mean, he's been a terrific greyhound for a while. He's already a Group 1 winner, but with those 2 scratchings, he got the job done. It's a shame we didn't see Hotel Whiskey 1 especially go around, because I just thought
Tim Zoo.
Yeah, I just thought he would have probably led all the way in that race. So, I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, but he looked the greyhound to beat in that series. But well done to Flying Zulu.
Indeed, Brisbane Cup winner of last year, and since raced basically in the shadow of Explicit and Tim Zoo. And who would have thought that the Jason Thompson Roadshow rolls on without Explicit and Tim Zoo doing their thing with Flying Zulu. Jumping back into the limelight on Sunday at Hillsville, we had the running of the Emerald, which was won by Cyril Sticker, and he set the 3rd fastest time ever over the 300 metres at Hillsville. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a good run, and I think James Vandermaat put the writing on the wall at the heaping of praise he had for Cyril Sticker in that heat win. He thought it was one of the more impressive things he's seen at Hillsville. He just got amazing acceleration. Mile a Minute's run was fantastic as well, Jace. I mean, when they're running that time, but I think a deserved winner for Brendan Purcell.
100%, and hopefully goes from strength to strength, the Emerald Series. I mean, it's sort of suffered a tad, at least from a wagering point of view, being on Tuesday during the day, which is a bit of a graveyard from a turnover point of view. But, I mean, the quality that seems to consistently be targeting this series, I think, must be taken notice of. So hopefully next year there is that opportunity to run it, whether it's on a Sunday or one other time slot where it's a bit more lucrative and we can put these good dogs on show, is going to be best for the series.
And can I suggest, Jason, that we get to see something similar perhaps on a one-turn track where we have the 8 fastest heat runners into a final, like a sort of like a helter-skelter type thing? I think that would be beneficial, especially considering it seems like the Speed Star has fallen off the perch. We don't get to see
not
much.
Off my perch, but
no, not of yours. I know both of us are really big fans.
I do see exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, there just doesn't seem to be any advances in it making a sort of a mini comeback on either of the city tracks. So if we could have another one of these races where it's time based, I think it's pretty exciting for the sport.
It is, and that must raise a point of giving credit to Peter Frost. He's the manager at Hillsville.
Yep.
He's so proactive when it comes to setting up these things. He funded the broadcast that was there last Tuesday for the heat. So when you start to talk about having the same format of racing at other tracks, I mean, it's a club initiative. So there's nothing stopping anyone from putting something similar in place.
Yeah, no, well done to him. And I think quickly going back to what the AFL is with opening round, I think everyone says that you've got to try things, and then if they don't work, they don't work. And I think for Hillsville to trial the Emerald, I really like the format. I think hopefully we can see a little bit more of it across some other provincial tracks that might have the nous to give it a crack.
Yep, couldn't agree more. All right, so speaking of some hot racing here in Victoria, some of our biggest stars were over in the West on Saturday night competing in heats of the Perth Cup. And when we look at the final that will be upon us at Cannington this week, again, it's highly likely a Victorian will win this. So Deadly Avenger drawn box 1, Mapunga Tully 2, Morton 3. Miss Envy 7's a big player, who's the best of the local hopes, and Vincent Bale in the pink. What did you make of what we saw from that whole lot on Saturday night?
Yeah, look, we often speak, obviously, tongue-in-cheek about how we get the visitors box when we head over to these places. But we mentioned last week, Jace, that I thought a few of the really leading fancies, the Victorian fancies, were drawn really well, and they took advantage of their box draws and raced accordingly. There wasn't much between any of these, was there, in regards to the overall time? The battle between Deadly Avenger and Mapunga Tully early, I think, is the key for me. I'm not sure where you sit on both of these greyhounds. Mapunga Tully's clearly been there and done that. I think I mentioned for the Australian Cup that Deadly Avenger, it just feels like he's going to win one of these big races. He was in the Gold Bullion, he was in the Australian Cup, now he's in the Perth Cup. He's had an amazing, 8 to 10 weeks. He's got a greyhound who's not going to fence crash either, so it's sort of like he's raced to lose, but he's got to be a top 3 finisher, doesn't he, if he can begin clean?
He does, and when he's taken his show on the road, he's been good, and what he has done is made strong impressions on whoever he's with. I mean, he doesn't He doesn't sort of fit the bill at this point of his career of the Hollywood name that you see pop up in the form guide, but his ability represents that.
Yeah.
And I know when he went up to target the gold bullion, he was with the Prince, Tommy Zavalis, and Tommy was shocked in his first trial about how fast this greyhound is.
Yep.
And I think Steve Withers over in Perth was much the same. So he gets his opportunity here from box 1 because, as you said, Mapunga Tully's not going to scrape the Dulux on the inside fence, and Morton's not one who exactly does that. Not as bad as Mapunga Tully getting to that middle part of the track, but he's not going to scrape the fence either.
And is there a Tommy Shelby 5% bonus here? Like Tommy
there's gotta
Shelby's
be,
that race at
prerequisite.
Cannington's. I mean, so yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Vincent Bale. Now, what do you think of his run? Obviously, he took the lead down the back and looked like he was going to power away, and he just sort of fell in. Now he has to contend with box 8.
It's tough, and it wasn't the Vincent Bale that we know and love,
No.
in my opinion, on Saturday night. So I did have a chat to Steve Withers on Sky on Monday morning, and this is what he had to say.
I guess he got the job done and he won, and he had a really good look at the track when he trialled the week before, but certainly wasn't his best day at work. And we all have plain days at work sometimes. I know I certainly have more than my fair share. So, we got to pencil that down and say that it wasn't his best day at work, and we'll work on what we have to work on this week and find any niggly things that he's not feeling so great on, and try and tidy those up. And yeah, I'd take him on at your own risk, because not many top-end players have 2 bad days at work in a row.
So Steve is the caretaker trainer for Vincent Bale at this point in time, and clearly from his point of view, there's admission that the performance wasn't that good, but there's also confidence he can bounce back pretty sharply. So to put context and illustration around what we're talking about, Vincent Bale is one of the powerhouse greyhounds in Australia. He hit the front turning for home on Saturday night, and he sort of went from 6th gear into sort of 4th gear and didn't look like the Vincent Bale that we know and love. So after watching him on Saturday night, George, and listening to the comments from Steve Withers on Monday morning, what is your view on where he sits at this point in time?
Well, the first thing was congratulations to Steve Withers for not sugarcoating anything. I just think that's exactly what punters want to hear about Vincent Bale, because all the race data we see about Vincent Bale, especially when he ran that 29.41, is his last bit of his race, Jason, is as good as anything. I mean, he's a powerhouse sprinter, gets to the line extremely well. And it didn't look that way, did it? Obviously, he just sort of got in. So love that from Steve. Didn't sugarcoat it. But again, take him on at your own peril. The worry I have is the box, clearly, from the wide draw. I mean, even with that run under his belt, if he drew 1, 2 or 3, you'd still go in with a bit of confidence, because the greyhound's shown his best 95% of the time. I mean, as he said, we all have bad days. But how does he get across from there with the amount of speed in this race? And I talk about greyhounds, the local greyhound like Boracay Summer, whose splits at Cannington are elite.
It's the fastest heat winner on Saturday night.
Yeah, and he's $8.50 or around that mark. So he's going to set a cracking speed. So is Deadly Avenger. So is Mapunga Tully. Not sure where Morton sits in all of this. We all know Miss Envy chases her heart out, and you can never discount her. So that's my only question mark with Vincent Bale. Just the box draw here is a bit tough. And you're still getting $6.50. If you're a betting person, I'd rather have money on Boracay Summer at $8.50 rather than Vincent Bale at $6.50, even though if they went one-on-one, Jace, in a race, Vincent Bale would win.
The biggest chances, in my eyes, look clearly down towards the inside. Deadly Avenger, Mapunga Tully, Morton, we know what they're about, but we know the way they race, particularly Mapunga Tully, wanting to get to that mid part of the track. One greyhound who's at $34, who I knew nothing about before Saturday night's heats, is number 6, Rare Speed. Now, that greyhound has a lot of speed, and from memory wanted to get down towards the inside. So that's got to be an advantage for Miss Envy and Vincent Bale. But I think Miss Envy is really well placed. It was well documented that she wasn't going to hit this series at 110%. So she got a run under her belt last week, which was a bit of a free kick from the red. Now it's a bit more challenging, but given the way she handles herself time after time, and that is in awkward situations, making good decisions, they are quality of good race dogs, and I think she's got a big opportunity here.
Well, she's going to have to make every good decision. That's, again, the concern here. Rare Speed splits, as you mentioned, are very similar to Boracay Summer. So there's almost a couple of races within races here. The greyhound's drawn 1 and 2, and how they get to the first corner, and the greyhounds drawn closer to the fence. So again, that's why I think there's certainly a little bit of a disadvantage for those greyhounds drawn out wide. Terrific version of the Perth Cup, there's no doubt about it.
Indeed it is. We'll speak more about that on Friday. And of course, alongside the Perth Cup is the Group 1 Galaxy for the Stayers. And your girl, Georgie, Groove Bird, who played a big part across all of the staying events through the Australian Cup Carnival. She was a great winner on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, and I haven't spoken to Jeff Britton, but I listened to an interview with handler Luke Townsend, who said that Jeff was very surprised that she ran down Black Silencer, because usually when she's challenged, that's not her best racing. She usually has to get to the front and keep going. So we were really happy with her gutsy win. But in fairness, Black Silencer had to work really hard to get into that position. So I don't think she's going to be afforded that luxury this week. And again, I always, in these staying races, always look to the class runner. And I think Ethanol Water might have had a little bit of a freshen up with some different scenery. Her run the week before, running 41.66, will win this race. That's a time that's going to win the race. So I can understand why Ethanol Water is $2.50, but more than happy with Groove Bird. And I'm not too concerned about the box draw either, Jason, in box 6. I think Black Silencer, she can beat out for speed, might have been used as a bit of the track. So it's up to her to get into a nice enough position. But again, I don't want to see Ethanol Water and Black Silencer sitting behind me, because they're too good for me.
There's a story in the Greyhound Recorder surrounding Full of Regrets, who's a Victorian over in WA at the moment. She'll jump from box 1 in that Galaxy final on Saturday night. Now, her owner, Dallin Klemke, there was a great quote in that story. I've booked to come home on the red eye at 12:25 a.m. I have a Geelong Premier Division Lawn Bowls final on the Sunday. A team won it last year, so I have to be back.
Now, that's dedication.
That is dedication.
Okay,
I absolutely love that.
We do have to hand it there to Dallin. Now, of course, this greyhound, Full of Regrets, I remember watching her race, and I thought she might make a nice brood bitch one day, because she is a full sister to Ella's Babe, of course, who's a very, very good stayer. And she doesn't have the class as Ella's Babe, but she races very similarly, doesn't she, where she's not great early, but is a pure stayer, gets to the line very, very well. So if there is a mix-up up front, expect to see her at least get into the places. But it's going to be a tough ask when you've got greyhounds like Ethanol Water and Black Silencer ahead of you in running.
Strong supporter of the show, Tim from Kilsyth, has texted in, hey boys, do we know if Tim Zoo is okay after being scratched from the Horsham Cup? So Tim, the lowdown on him is that he was scratched due to a split webbing, where there was half a chance he might have gone around on Friday night. Safest thing was to pull him out of the race. So it's no great difference, Georgie, correct me if I'm wrong, to our hands and feet and splitting our webbing between our fingers. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I always defer to trainers, because as I'm always put my hand up, I've never trained a dog in my life, but I've learnt things along the way. And what trainers say about split webbings is that you sort of don't want to rush them, because then they can re-split it. So you've got to be
infection, possibly a danger.
Yeah, so you've got to be fairly careful with it. So in terms of seriousness, it's not that bad, especially if it can heal all the way. So hopefully we get to see Tim Zoo before too long. Tim from Kilsyth, he's not going to know what to do with himself without Tim Zoo running around.
No. Well, the news that broke in the last 24
Yeah.
hours was that Tim Zoo will be representing Tab Touch in the Sandgroper over in WA coming up. Would have to be a couple of weeks away, a few weeks away.
Yeah, a little bit more than that, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's not too far away now.
Couldn't be too far away.
Yeah, look, they'll do everything possible to make sure that they get that right, but it can be a little bit of a tricky thing time-wise. Nothing serious, though.
Okay, the fourth race at Sales coming up, and the favourite there is number 1, Star Status. And this is an omen bet for me, Georgie, because you know why. I came here to RSN last week. It was on the Thursday when there's a celebration for 100 years of broadcasting for 3UZ/RSN. Mm-hmm. I got on the tram to go back to the GRV office, and probably 5 minutes into my trip, there's a gentleman sitting to my left who just interrupted me as I had my headphones in and goes, "Are you James Vandermart?"
Wow.
I said, "Yes, I am."
You did say
No, I didn't say that.
That's
No.
absolutely fantastic.
No, Georgie, as much as we do our best
He's laughing in the call box
to
out
promote
there.
this great game, and by extension from that, people get to know us, we'll never hold a candle to the great man.
What gave it away? Were you wearing thongs? James Vandermart, I have seen him in very, very nice shoes from time to time. So was that the giveaway?
Or a salad sandwich, something like that?
Absolutely. Two great men anyway.
Anyway. All right, speaking of the great man, let's get to him. Here's race 4 at Sale.
Tell you what a lead in that is, Jace, eh? The stories of Jason Adams on a tram. You could make a movie about that. $1.70 for Star Status. When he's not rocketing around in that electric car, our man Jace, he's in the trams, that's for sure. One of the real hard workers in the greyhound industry. I don't know how they possibly confused us, though. I don't know about that. You're a much better looking fellow, but they're about to move in race 4. Star Status, $1.70, $5.50 about Not Our Fault. Number 3, raced by the Bubba Joe's kennel. And $8.50 Jumbuckarette. That went up at Hillsville about 3 starts ago. Was visually very impressive. The awkward draw, the challenge in 7. Favoured in red with a good draw, Star Status. They move in for race number 4. It's really glary out there today for the 4th of 12. Last few being placed away now. The favoured in red, Star Status. Pretty short for Lynn Smith, around 165. The green light, they're set to go now. Race number 4, all in. Set. Racing, Star Status away about 3rd, winning at Petite Beast from the centre, straight out to lead Dr. Ann. Star Status trying to hug the rail, but just got crowded for space, back to about midfield on the inside of Dr. Katarina. The favourite clipped heels in big trouble now. Then Key Pillars, Not Our Fault, and at the end of the field, Jumbuckarette, Opatea, but it's Petite Beast, the good leader. One danger, Dr. Ann about 3 away, but Petite Beast is going well in the lead, and Petite Beast really accelerated clear late. Won it by 5 lengths, came right away to beat Dr. Ann, 3rd to Not Our Fault, then Dr. Katarina, and then Star Status. No luck from the inside draw from Keep Pillars. Back at the end, Opatea with Jumbuckarette, and the time we'll await on with the hand time to come, around $11.80 for Petite Beast. That's a good win. Really accelerated to the front early. I'm not sure they would have got near Petite Beast as it turned out for Carolyn Jones, taking the front and then just accelerating through the gears. From 5, Dr. Ann up for 2nd placing, and 3rd, number 3, Not Our Fault, has picked up the 3rd and did run on pretty strongly in the last 100 metres or so. Numbers here, 4 defeating 5, 3rd goes to 3, and the 8 should pin down 4th, not too far behind them. 4, 5, 3, 8 the numbers, 4, 5, 3, 4th in number 8. Just awaiting the all clear to come. It's 5 lengths by 2.5. 5 lengths by 2.5. Just awaiting that all clear. The numbers here, 4, 5, 3 and 8 with the all clear pending.
I've got those, James. Number 4, expect some big numbers here, I would have thought. But number 4, Petite Beast, $11.80, $2.20. 5, Dr. Ann, $2.50. 3, Not Our Fault at $1.90. And 8, Dr. Katarina. The Quinolets paid $32. Exacta $87. Trifecta $433. The first 4, $4,171. And the early quaddie, $650 for 2, 4, 9 and 4. It's a jackpot. No live tickets of $220. And the running double 9 and 4. $89. We're 4 races in, and the winners have paid $7, $7, $12 and $11 there today, boys. No favourites.
Thanks, Johnny. And George, just in extension to my story and situation on the tram last Wednesday, after being asked if I was James Vandermart, ended up saying no at $1.04. The next question was, what's happened to Jason Lincoln? And then he started to go on about, and he probably didn't pick up what I do or anything like that. He goes, those tips, he's got absolutely no idea, always tipping favourites and whatnot. And the bloke in front of him chimes in and goes, yeah, they all get slung.
Oh, my God.
Righto.
You can't win.
Righto.
You can't win.
Can't
Jeez,
win.
you copped it for about a couple of minutes on the train.
It was
all
happening for about 5 minutes.
I tell you, just quickly, talk about Star Status. When I was checking into my hotel, the person checking in before me was Jason Dunstall.
Oh.
And being a Hawks man, I just didn't have enough courage to say, I didn't want to bother him.
I heard him on the coverage say, you wouldn't believe it, the bloke who checked in after me was George Ferrugia.
Yeah, can you imagine that? That'd be fantastic. But, James Vandermart. There you go. Oh, how's your lawn? Because you said is it back to A-grade MCG quality?
Mickey Mouse, the nature strip, best in Berwick.
Best in Berwick.
Undoubtedly.
Bib.
It is back.
Done.
Looking better than Marvel Stadium, that is for sure and certain.
Looking better than Tribeca, this greyhound we're next going to talk about?
No, I won't take it that far. He was a good winner on Monday night at Sandown Tribeca.
Yep.
We learnt a bit about him through that maiden series, through the Australian Cup Carnival, but now he's getting to some serious areas. Yeah,
of course, for those that don't know, there's a qualifying series for the launching pad where if you win, you don't have to pay for a ticket. You're straight into it. 29.10. Now, the first split was great, 5:05. 18.72, Jace, for a young greyhound is fantastic. But to run home in 10.38... is pretty special. I think they're going to have a lot of fun with this dog, and Brooke and Jamie Ennis certainly have a great team at the moment.
It was electric, and Lakeview Emily was sensational at Sandown last Thursday night as well, and I looked at the data between them this morning, and although the performances overall were quite similar Tribeca's second half of the race was much more impressive than Lakeview Emily's, but of course she does the damage of that first half. So potentially in 6 months' time, we could see him over more ground.
She's Shanghaied out. When she does that, she's pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah, and we should mention as well, another heat winner of that Launching Pad qualifier series was Aston Rayner in 29 and 22. For Vicky Weiser in Glen Rounds and Ray Borders. So echoes of Aston Rupee, and we'll see what he's got to offer long term.
Absolutely. Got some nice ones coming through at the moment. Should we go through some tips?
Yeah, we'll go through some tips. And just for anyone looking to suss out that data of those performances before the final Thursday week, head to grv.org.au/race data. What do you got for us for tomorrow night, Georgie?
Yeah, look, not sure we're going to get any odds, but I want people to have a watch out for race 2, number 2, University, a greyhound that's a
has mentioned this greyhound
to Logistical, ran 29.40 at Sandown last start. I think it's got a bit of a future, but the ones that we're keen on, Jace, race 10, number 2, Shimmer Sand, I think will be really hard to beat after some good placings in its last couple. I think it's drawn well and will be very hard to beat. Race 10, number 2. I'm also keen on one. Hopefully we get some odds. Race 11, number 6. It's a greyhound called Takumi Bale. Go back to its provincial form at Sale, I think was very impressive, and there was a couple of nice placings at Ballarat as well. And again, it's just one of those times where I think it can find its race. Yes, I'm not happy with box 6, but if we can get some each way value, certainly want to have a play. So race 11, number 6, but race 10, number 2, Shimmer Sand.
What sort of hotels are you staying at if you're staying at the same joint as Jason Dunstan?
Only ever allowed to stay once, mate, at each hotel he goes to.
That doesn't surprise
He's
me.
barred for life every time.
Yeah, no, just a nice sort of one down near Surrey Hills, and yeah, it was a good little joint. Ordered a cocktail with a cherry in
for
it.
his key card.
I know, I got out of there pretty quickly, mate.
All right, keen to see what's in store for him in the tram going back to the office, Georgie, but in the meantime,
absolutely.
Have a good couple of days, mate. We'll see you on Friday. John Henry,
thank you, boys. Yeah, thank you, boys. Good show as always. And James Vandermart is going to preview the first leg of the quaddie onwards, race 5 shortly from the Greyhounds at Sale.
To hear all of today's Australian racing, listen to RSN Extra. That's on digital radio in Melbourne, on the RSN app, and streaming at rsn.net.au.
Hong Kong is racing tonight.
Racing!
That's right, they're racing tonight at Happy Valley. You can follow the Star Aussie